So the number one reason why people struggle with prolonged grief is that they isolate themselves from others and the resources that can change how we process grief. So let's walk together and I'll share with you how you can find help for your specific grief needs. Hey friend, welcome back to Grief Questions Answered. I'm Eric, and it's my goal with these videos to share everything that I've learned about how to survive, find support in the loneliness of grief, and how to intentionally get back up and live beyond the loss of a loved one. If this grief tip doesn't help you today, I am confident it can and will help you at some point in the future, so be sure to save this video to watch later on. Today's video or question comes from Katie, who asked, why is it so hard for me to find support? And Katie, you've really touched upon something that has been very challenging, not only for yourself, but for so many others, and including me. You know, the grief process is already tough as it is, and when you add prolonged grief to the mix, it feels like you're going to be stuck in this mode of grief forever, right? And it's kind of like being stuck in this very powerful loop where you feel hopeless and then you isolate, which then cycles back to feeling stuck, and the loop continues over and over and over again. I remember when I lost Zoe, I felt absolutely so lost. Her friends were asking me, what are we supposed to do with this? And I didn't know what we were supposed to do with this. And so many times I felt stuck. Even when they weren't asking me, I was feeling that way anyway. I felt like the grief was going to be difficult to get through, and I felt hopeless sometimes, but I isolated. And when I isolated, that made it worse. And so here's the thing. The reason that we struggle with prolonged grief is because people need different resources, and sometimes those resources can feel like they're out of reach. So what do we do about that? There are a couple things at play here in order for you to kind of find not only the resource that you want, but the resource that'll work for you, or resources. Actually, it's not just one. First, it's really important to look at what resources you can get access to. Okay, some people can work with free online resources like meetup groups or online groups. Some people need in-person groups. Even books and videos can help people, and they're fine with that. But for others, they want to work with somebody one-on-one, so they can get those resources, but only if they're covered by insurance or if they have some access to funds. And others can pay out of pocket to work with a coach or a counselor one-on-one, but not everybody can. And so it's important to know what resources are available and for you to connect with them. No matter what, though, there are always some options no matter where you are in your journey, okay? The other aspect of coming out of prolonged grief is actually doing what works for you. It's one thing to say, I want the help. It's another thing to actually go and get it, okay? And so what works for me may not work for you, and that's okay. What's important, though, is to start with something and see where it brings you. You can always try something later on if this option doesn't work for you. There's never going to be a perfect way to get there. We just have to take the first step, okay? It's important to keep going and to find ultimately what does work for you so you can continue to move out of this prolonged grief if you're there, right? And remember, there is no one right way to navigate your grief except for the one way that does work for you. So Katie, as always, I hope this helps. Do you have a grief question that I can answer for you? Let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't done so yet, click that subscribe button down below, as this is one of the best ways to get notified of new videos just like this and to show support for the channel. So let's continue to walk together, and I'll see you in next week's video.